I never expected a casual trip to the park with my baby to turn into a chaotic battle for her safety. As the sun shone down, a stranger named Karen steals my baby, 'cause I look too young to be a mom and wants me arrested. Here's how it all went down. It was a sunny day, and I decided to take my baby, Mia, to the park. I'm 19, but often mistaken for younger due to my youthful features. The looks and murmured judgments from strangers were common. "Is she old enough to be a mom?" they'd whisper. I was used to it, but today was different. Growing up, I wasn't exactly the poster child for good decisions. Late nights, parties, and a penchant for thrill-seeking made up my teenage years. One of those reckless nights led to my unexpected pregnancy. It wasn't planned, and the reality hit me hard. However, from the moment I held Mia in my arms, there wasn't an ounce of regret in my heart. She was my silver lining, my little beacon of hope. But not everyone saw it that way. While Mia was laughing and cooing in her stroller, I noticed a woman staring at us. She looked to be in her 50s, with that typical "I want to speak to the manager" haircut. Let's call her Karen. Karen walked over, her eyes narrowing. "Excuse me," she said. "How old are you?" "I'm 19, I replied, taken aback by her sudden intrusion. She scoffed. 19? You're just a baby yourself. You shouldn't be having kids at that age." I tried to remain calm. "Mia is my daughter, and I take good care of her. My age doesn't define my capability as a mother." But Karen wasn't done. "I just don't think it's right. What if I called Child Protective Services? They might have a thing or two to say about this." I felt my blood boil. "You have no right to judge me or my family." Without any warning, Karen attempted to grab Mia's stroller. "Give me your kid. You're too young to be a mom." Panicking, I held onto Mia tightly, pulling the stroller back. "Stay away from my baby!" I yelled, trying to get the attention of nearby park goers. A jogger stopped, asking, "Is everything okay here?" Karen dramatically responded, "This child is being raised by someone who is basically a kid herself. I'm trying to save her." The jogger, probably in his late 20s, looked skeptical. "You can't just take someone's child away. That's not how things work." Ignoring the jogger's words, Karen pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the FBI. This is child endangerment." I was dumbfounded. Calling the FBI over a young mom at a park? This had to be some kind of joke. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. Not from the FBI, but local police. "What seems to be the problem?" one officer asked, trying to assess the situation. "This young girl is trying to pass off this baby as hers. She's clearly too young to be a mom," Karen exclaimed, pointing accusingly at me. The other officer approached me. "Ma'am, can you explain?" Taking a deep breath, I said, "Officer, I'm 19, and Mia is my daughter. This woman tried to take her away from me just because she thinks I'm too young." To my relief, the jogger chimed in. "I witnessed the whole thing, officer. The young lady is telling the truth." The officers exchanged glances. "Ma'am," one of them said to Karen, "it's not illegal for a 19-year-old to have a child. You, on the other hand, attempted to take a child without permission. That's a serious offense." Karen's face turned beet red, her infamous reputation as the town's busybody shining through. "I was just trying to help," she protested. "By taking my baby," I exclaimed, clutching Mia even closer to my chest. "Ma'am, we'll have to take you in for questioning," the officer said to Karen McFrazier, his voice unyielding. As the police escorted Karen away, she continued her tirade, flailing and causing quite a scene. "You all will regret this. I was just trying to save that baby." From the crowd that had gathered, murmurs spread. "That's Karen McFrazier for you," whispered one person. "Always sticking her nose where it doesn't belong," said another. The jogger, a kind-faced man named Max as I later learned, approached me with an empathetic look. "You okay? Some people just can't mind their business. Don't let Karen McFrazier's antics get to you. You're clearly doing a great job with Mia." I sighed, trying to shake off the shock. "Thank you, Max. I never thought I'd be at the center of one of Karen's dramas. It's not every day someone like her tries to rescue my baby from me." Max chuckled. "You're now officially initiated into the town's McFrazier Chronicles." We both laughed, the earlier tension melting away amidst our newfound camaraderie. Max and I decided to sit on a nearby bench, letting Mia enjoy some more outdoor time, undisturbed. We chatted about Karen's previous escapades, how she had once called animal control on a child's pet hamster, and reported another neighbor for having suspiciously too many garden gnomes. It was all laughably absurd. "Raising a child is hard," Max mused, "especially when you have people judging you at every turn. But Mia seems happy and healthy. That's all that matters." I nodded, glancing at Mia, who was now giggling at a butterfly. "She's my world. No matter how young I look or what people say, I'll always do what's best for her." As the sun began to set, Max and I parted ways, promising to catch up soon. I returned home, Mia's soft snores a testament to a day well spent. From that day on, not only did Mia and I have an incredible story to share, but I also found a friend in Max. More importantly, I was reminded that age is merely a number. What truly counts is the love and dedication one brings to parenthood. Wow, what a crazy story. Karen really went all out trying to steal that poor girl's baby. Can't believe she called the FBI over a mom at the park. Anyways, props to the jogger and the police for stepping in and helping out. And shout out to Max, the town's Karen expert. I never could have imagined the depths of darkness my life would descend into. It started with the heartbreaking loss of our beloved daughter, followed by my husband's spiral into alcoholism. But nothing could have prepared me for the horrifying night when he poured our daughter's ashes into the toilet and hurled her urn at me. Here's how it all went down. My head hurts. My heart hurts. I feel so alone, and I don't know where to turn to. I had to spend the night in my car last night. I couldn't sleep through crying, trying to stay warm enough and thinking that somebody was going to suddenly appear at the windows. I've been trying to find a place to park up so I can try to sleep today, and I found a place, but I can't rest. I feel so empty and scared. I don't want to go into much detail here, but our daughter passed away very suddenly last year. My husband and I both sought help and have tried to work through it together, but his drinking has been getting more and more out of control. It reached a point where he started trying to hide it, but it only made his behavior worse. I had a breakdown 2 months after our daughter passed, and I haven't been working since. I had quite a bit saved up and some money I inherited, so I used that to contribute at home, while I tried to improve my health. In January, my husband started his journey to sobriety, but his business began to suffer. We faced some difficulties during the lockdowns, and we both worked hard to ensure the survival of the business. He took out a loan earlier this year, and I gave him the rest of my savings and returned to work. Things were going well with the business, as well as they could have been for us, until he relapsed last month and kept it hidden from me. I lost my job 2 weeks ago and have been searching for work since. It has been stressful, but we have managed to cope. Yesterday, I walked into a disconcerting scene. My husband was already home, but he was very drunk. His behavior was loud, out of control, and he was slamming things around the house as if searching for something. It was a chaotic scene, and I couldn't make much sense of it. When I tried to ask if he was okay, he became aggressive, getting right in my face and throwing baseless accusations my way. I asked him, "What are you talking about? What's going on?" But it seemed like he wasn't interested in explaining. Instead, he continued to hurl accusations and insults at me, things that had no basis in reality. I started to feel scared. I had never seen him this angry before. It felt like a buildup of grief and frustration had erupted all at once. In an attempt to de-escalate the situation, I decided to leave for a while. I put on my shoes and coat and calmly told him about my plan. I said, "I think it's best if I go out for a while, just until things calm down." That's when everything escalated even further. He accused me of trying to abandon him, and in a sudden, terrifying moment, he charged at me, grabbing my arm forcefully and throwing me to the floor. He dragged me down the hallway as he continued to shout about not letting me leave him. He yelled, "You're not leaving me, I won't let you." It was a horrifying experience. And at some point in his drunken rant, he abruptly stopped and told me something that sent chills down my spine. He said darkly, "I'm going to give you a reason to hate me so much." He stormed off into the front room, took the urn with our daughter in it, and headed to the downstairs toilet. My heart pounded with dread as I got up and tried to stop him from doing whatever he was planning. When he made his way towards the toilet, I desperately attempted to intervene, pleading with him not to go through with it. He shoved me quite hard, and I stumbled, falling to the ground. In a shocking and heart-wrenching moment, he poured all of our daughter's ashes into the toilet, and then callously threw her urn at me, hitting my leg. The emotional pain was unbearable, and I couldn't comprehend what was happening. He began yelling at me, threatening to kill me, and I felt a paralyzing fear take hold of me. I was shaking, trembling with fear, but somehow I managed to gather the strength to get up and run to the front door. My mind was a blur, and all I could think about was escaping from that terrifying situation. I grabbed my keys and my handbag, rushed to my car, and drove off aimlessly. I had no idea where to go, and I was overwhelmed with grief, anger, and confusion. I parked in a quiet area, and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I felt utterly alone, with no family nearby, and no friends I could turn to for support. Since that traumatic moment, it seemed like all I could do was cry, trapped in a painful and isolating ordeal with no clear way out. I was sick earlier on, but I've managed to keep some water down. I thankfully keep a supply of it in the car. I don't know what to do. I switched my phone off all night in case he tried to contact me. I didn't want to hear from him. He's tried to call me today, but I can't be around him while he's drinking again. I can't let him keep taking his anger out on me like this. I feel like it's all my fault. Everything. I just needed to vent. I'm exhausted from feeling like this. A few weeks later, I tried to end my own life through overdose and almost died. I am fine now, but I'm still here in the hospital, and I was feeling extremely overwhelmed. The important thing is I am safe, and I didn't go back to my husband. I can't get into everything that has gone on with my husband, as the police have been involved and some of it is ongoing. I can say that he was playing games and acted calm and collected with them at first, trying to make out that he hadn't done anything wrong and that it was me with the problem. He told them that I was welcome home at any time. A couple of things happened, and after I received some very threatening voice messages and texts from him, he reported my phone as stolen and had me cut off. He was trying to make me go home and have nowhere else to turn to. After some intervention and conflicts with the police, he offered to leave the house for a couple of days a few weeks ago. I was supposed to go there with some help, allowing me to retrieve my belongings and our daughter's belongings. Nobody asked him to leave. He offered. I arrived there, along with some help, to find that he had destroyed all of my things. When I say all of my things, I mean everything that I owned, and that was in that house. I can't even imagine how long it must have taken him. He sliced my shoes and had gone over some of them in black marker. The same with my handbags. He cut up my clothes. All of my products were scattered in the bathroom, which he had smashed. There were items of my clothes in the bathtub, and he had poured bleach all over them, as well as my cosmetics, which were all destroyed and mixed in. He had smashed and broken my other belongings. He had trashed the house, including our daughter's room. The only thing I couldn't find were some of her things that he had taken with him. I don't really remember much of being in the house. I suppose I kind of went numb once I realized what he had done and saw our daughter's room. The photos of it all are terrible. He has claimed he doesn't remember doing any of it. He then put it down to a drunken rage. After doing it, he went straight over to his parents, knowing what was coming, and pleaded with them for help. They arranged for him to get some private help. After our daughter passed away, we both sought help, both together and separately. His drinking spiraled out of control to the point where he tried to hide it, which only made things worse. I understand that he has been in pain, but it reached a stage where having a reasonable conversation with him was nearly impossible. After discussing things with various professionals, I now realize that there was a significant amount of control happening, both financially and emotionally. Regardless of how much he was hurting, I know it doesn't excuse his behavior. As much as I empathize with him and want him to receive the help he needs, I can't overlook what he did with our daughter's ashes. It felt like I lost her all over again, and I felt like I had failed her once more. His parents did reach out and promised to retrieve the items he took that belonged to our daughter, but I haven't heard from them since. I'm sure it's not easy for them. I have been receiving some assistance, and I am on a waiting list for additional therapy. I will also start a new job on Tuesday. Currently, I am sitting on the floor of my new place. I collected the keys yesterday, and my tenancy officially begins on Monday. It may not be much to look at, and I'm starting from scratch, but for the first time in weeks, I feel like I can finally breathe a little. Having some space of my own again is a bit overwhelming, but it's the first time in a long while that I can almost relax. A new bed has been donated to me, and it will arrive on Monday. In addition, my key worker has applied for a cooker for me through a white goods scheme with one of my utility providers. Until my gas is turned on Monday, I don't have hot water or heating, but I do have electricity. I have some books to read, and this morning I picked up a bag of mostly canned food from the food bank. It took a lot of courage for me to go, but it will be enough to sustain me for the next few days, and it doesn't require heating. I might not have what I had, but I'm not where I was. I'm not sure where things will go from here. It felt like I had died along with my daughter, yet my body was still there and going through life. I want to believe I can do something in her memory, even if that something is making it through each day. I'm safe, and I'm trying to be well. I agree that the actions described are deeply troubling and inexcusable. Regardless of the individual's emotional state or struggles with alcoholism, it is important to recognize that such behavior is unacceptable and should not be justified or excused. Holding individuals accountable for their actions is crucial, regardless of the challenges they may be facing. I never imagined that a simple disagreement about buying a pony would lead to such a drastic decision. Little did I know that my choice to protect my daughter's inheritance would put my relationship with my fiancé, Max, on the line. The tension grew as we debated what it truly meant to be equal parents. Here's how it all went down. I, 28 years old, had my daughter 9 years old while still in college. I am ashamed to admit I don't know who the dad is. It was a drunken party mishap. My parents disowned me, and sympathizing with my plight, my grandpa took me in. He had a bad relationship with my dad. Grandpa died 2 years ago, leaving me his entire estate. He was kind of rich. I started dating my fiancé Max, 35 years old, around 4 years back. He has 2 kids, 6 years old, and 10 years old he has full-time custody of as well. Their mom married someone else and moved across the country. She pays child support but makes no effort to contact them or visit them. We have lived together for over a year now, and everyone gets along pretty well. We stay at the house my grandfather left me and split all bills and expenses 50-50, but keep the rest of the finances separate. He popped the question 2 months ago and I said yes. A few weeks ago we had a minor fight. My daughter's birthday is coming up and I wanted to gift her a pony. She's been learning to ride for a few years now and really wants one. When I mentioned this to Max in a passing conversation, he hesitatingly said, "Why are you spending money on a pony of all things? We've got shared expenses to worry about, you know?" I defensively replied, "Relax, Max. I'm not taking anything out of our budget. I'll use my own money for it." Max frowned and responded, "Well, if you're buying your kid a pony, you should buy one for mine too to make it fair." I considered for a moment and replied, fair enough. Let's split the expense then." Max hesitated once more and said, "No, it's your idea, your kid and your money. You should buy it yourself. I can't afford to spend like this." I understood his point, but I also felt that he would want me to make everything equal with his kids too. But I also felt like my daughter should not have to split her generational wealth. It's not mine, it's my grandpa's. And he loved her. He left it to me believing I would pass it on to her. So I made a trust fund transferring 50% of the assets I inherited into that. It has rules regarding reasons I can make withdrawals for, like education and separate living allowance based on age, money for marriage, for a house, and the entire balance made available at 30. I set up another trust fund for myself, putting 30% of the assets into it with a yearly allowance, and then it will dissolve after 50, hoping to retire then. The remaining 20% mostly consists of the house, land, and emergency funds. I did this so that whatever income I earn, I will be able to equally split it among the kids. But the inheritance will stay intact for my or my daughter's future without having to be split or used for my stepkids. My fiancé found out about this a couple of days ago. He saw some related papers in my drawer and was really mad at me for cutting him and his kids out. He said if I was marrying him, we would be sharing all assets and finances. That it's not fair for me to keep 90% of my wealth just to myself and my kid when he is sharing all of his with us. I said I was sharing everything I make too, just the inheritance is kept aside. He is not bringing any inheritance into the union either. He said that's because he has none, and it's incredibly selfish of me to not share, to lock it away. That with this, my daughter will have a luxurious life, while his kids have an average life only since there is no way we can afford all that for them with our income only. I said generational wealth is separate, and it should go to the biological family. He called me a jerk for discriminating and depriving his kids of an equally good life. At the core, there were two issues. How much do I trust him? And how do we handle finances moving forward? He told me he was ready to sign a prenup before I even asked if that would alleviate my worries. He said all he wants is to have everyone in the household to feel equal, to not make his kids feel resentful, to make it fair to everyone. I understood that. The fact is, there is no way it can be made fair to everyone. If I want to give my daughter the best of everything, I should give the same to his kids too. But that is not always possible even with our combined incomes. For example, if her love for riding stays, both me and her would prefer she attend a private school providing equestrian sports. Tuition for that and related costs can be availed from her trust, but we would not be able to afford to pay tuition for his kids out of our combined income. The trust is already set up, and even I cannot withdraw money for their tuition. Even if I could, I would be reducing my retirement funds or my daughter's inheritance. The same goes for a car, a tuition fund, and all other expenses my daughter will have covered. But even with our incomes, we can't give equally to Max's kids. Further, marriage is a big risk. Even with a prenup, if he takes on debt during the course of the marriage, I would also be liable. A lot of the comments have instilled a lot of fear in me. I am also worried about the resentment finance is going to build. I love Max, I really do, but I love my daughter a million times more. She is my life. I have to accept that her future and opportunities are more important to me than a marriage, at least for the next 9 years. Who am I kidding until my daughter can fully be independent? And I cannot fault him for wanting the same for his kids. He is just being a dad. But I cannot take away from my daughter to give to his kids. I can only give equal love and care to them, equal attention. Financially, we are just not compatible. Long story short, I gave back my ring. Engagement and marriage are off the table for now. After all, there is no real necessity to get married. We are both sad about this turn, but the fact he did not kick up a fuss is a bit reassuring. I really do believe our companionship is just as valuable to him as it is to me, just that we are also parents who want the best for our children. We don't know where our relationship is going. I would still like to have him in my life, but he is also free to leave and find another person. I did not ask him to leave, and he's staying for now. I will try to keep normal stuff equal between all. Whatever I can afford to do out of my income. My daughter is still getting a pony. It's a gift from her great-grandpa after all. I would not compromise her life and choices. My grandpa took me in for her sake. He left it all to me for her. I cannot compromise on that, and there is no need for 3 ponies. Neither of his kids know or has shown any interest in riding. If they want one after seeing my daughter with hers, we will be getting them riding lessons, and they can share. They will be getting the best birthday presents we can afford that align with their interests for their birthdays, if Max sticks around till then. I will also be protecting the house and land as well. He cannot make claims on it as far as I know, but I will still be discussing it with my estate lawyer. I understand the dilemma here. On one hand, it's important to respect a partner's autonomy over their own finances and support their efforts to provide for their child. On the other hand, it can be challenging to navigate a situation where there is a noticeable disparity in wealth between children. Ultimately, each individual must make decisions based on what they believe is in the best interest of their child's future. It's a complex balance to find, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.